Welcome to the Health Angle. I am a host, Dr. Mike Headlee, and with me, the other host, Dr. Gordon Fimreite.
Hi, Mike. Welcome.
Hey, welcome,
This is a
Gordy.
great topic. One of my favorite.
Yes, so guess what? This topic for our listeners is going to improve their overall health and lower their risk of death. What do you think our listeners and viewers are thinking about? Lowering your risk of death significantly and improving your overall health.
And at the same time, looking great, feeling great, better handling stress and anxiety. And it is obviously optimizing your movement as well as your balance through exercise.
Yes, so we are going to talk about exercise. So, Dr. Gordy, I like one of the sayings that I tell people in my office all the time: to age well, we must move well. And as doctors of chiropractic, I also talk about we're as old as our spine. So we want our spine to move well. So we're going to just talk about the global aspect of exercise. So I'll let you kick things off today, since you're, I think, more of an expert on exercise than I am, even though I played college
I'm
football
not
like
sure about
yourself.
that, but I appreciate that. First of all, when I think of movement, everything in our body is meant for motion and mobility and movement. If you look at it, we're nothing more than 30 trillion cells. You got a few trillion that make up the cardiovascular system, a few trillion that make up the liver, the lungs, and all these systems in our body, including digestive systems and everything else. So everything in our body is meant for movement and motion. Now, 1/3 of our life is spent sleeping, so we're not moving at all. And that's normal. We need our sleep. In fact, we are going to do a podcast on sleep coming up soon.
Yeah.
So what I want to talk about is this movement and how important it is. Everything is relied upon motion and mobility in our body. So for sleeping 1/3 of our life, which is good and healthy, we're also stuck in front of computers and in front of desks for long hours, and we're not getting enough exercise, and it's so vitally important. Anything to add to that, Mike? I do have some slides I'll share, but anything you want to add?
Yeah, I wanted to just talk about a study real quick before you dive in about how it does lower our risk of death. There was an overview of 97 systematic reviews they found that exercise is 1.5 times more effective for mental health than top medicines or counseling, and benefits were seen in only 12 weeks.
Wow.
And so most health authorities recommend getting 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity activity for 75 to 150 minutes of vigorous intense exercise each week. Real quick, previous research has found that people who met or exceeded the weekly exercise recommendations lowered their risk of death. Men can lower the risk of cardiovascular disease death by as much as 34%, and their all-cause mortality by up to 36%.
Wow.
Women can
That's
lower their cardiovascular death risk by as much as 44%, and their all-cause mortality by as much as 55%. And that's just by
wow.
exercising. And we are going to
Unbelievable.
dive into the sleep, which is really critical, in nutrition and our mindset and things like that. So just exercise, 34 to 44%, depends on if you're a man or a woman, can really make a huge impact. Which exercise are the best for lowering blood pressure, which is still, heart disease is kind of the number one leading cause of death. We talked about mental, issues, depression, and how exercise can help that, and then also reduce all-cause mortality and cardiovascular issues. So a recent meta-analysis of 2,070 studies found that isometric exercise was the most effective for lowering blood pressure.
Wow.
Other exercises were really, really good too. Combined training, dynamic resistive training, aerobic exercise, high intensity interval training. Those were all very, very healthy as well. And then they talked about dietary wise, potassium, magnesium are important for healthy blood pressure regulation. More often than not, it's too much sodium that is the problem, but it's not too much sodium, but it's the lack of potassium. And so we'll dive
Wow.
into nutrition and a lot of things in future podcasts. But exercise, yeah, all cause mortality, mental acuity and health, and lowers depression risks, and then lowers blood pressure. So it's just such a win-win. It's basically the fountain of youth, improve your energy and health and fitness and how you look and feel. And So yeah, so many positive studies on exercise.
That's great. And then I'm looking at the benefits here, just getting oxygen when you're working out, it rid toxins. They found a study that we have as children are being born, they already have 287 types of toxicities in their umbilical cord. So getting exercise just helps to detox as well. And of course, our foods are full of toxins as well as the air we breathe and everything else. Helps the blood sugar regulation. How many diabetics are out there? That's just going through the roof. There's so many diabetics nowadays, and exercise can regulate the blood sugar, increase lymphatic flow, get that exercise, get the blood flowing, lymphatic flow, helps fight flus and colds, and especially this time of year. Also keeps fat and cholesterol, metabolizes that in your bloodstream, which is nothing but healthy. A lot of people have high cholesterol, and this is a way to just level that out. Increase bone density. As we mature in life, the more muscle mass we have, the better it is for our bone density. If you exercise, it is basically better than medication and behavior therapy. It's 1.5 times more effective, and that's basically a health and human performance study in Australia. Phenomenal. And then obesity, it's a big, huge problem. 2 out of 3 people right now are either overweight or obese. Being obese triples the risk of heart disease as well as produces a tenfold increase in the chance of developing diabetes. And then being overweight midlife at age 50 increases the risk of death of up to 30%. You get to the gym. I'll just talk a little bit, real brief about getting to the gym. And you see this concept where people have this old style of wanting to get into a fitness routine and they want to lose weight, they want to be trim, they want to be lean. And what they do is they lower their calorie intake. Basically, they're on a diet. And the other thing do is they increase their aerobics. They're on the cardio. And we always make fun of this. Some of us people who go to the gym, we go to the gym and we get our intense, weightlifting workout, stretching, everything that we need to do. And then we look at the same people in the cardiovascular section, and you can always see a difference. The people that are lifting weights in that section of the gym are always so much leaner and muscular than the people on the cardio that just constantly do the cardio. And so there's a concept called skinny fat people. Basically what happens is when you're on the treadmill, you're on a diet, and what happens is your body goes into a metabolic rate that is basically a starvation physiology. And starvation physiology, what it does is you start craving junk food. You crave fatty foods. You crave everything where you get more calories. And as a result of that, that wants to be stored in your body. And so what happens is you burn the muscle first. And too much aerobic, it raises the stress hormones called cortisone. And whenever you're under any stress, cortisone is one of the first hormones that release. Now, cortisone, that's what stimulates appetite, and it causes increased fat storage, and it slows down the exercise recovery as well. And then it decreases testosterone and growth hormone. And those are critical for muscle growth. And then it also decreases immune system, so it makes you more susceptible for catching colds and flus. I want to get into the muscle part of this. If you want to jump in before I start, I want to make one more comment though. This is really critically important. Between the ages of 20 years of age up to 70 years of age, the human body loses 30% of its muscle mass. You lose 7 pounds of lean muscle every 10 years. So what you got to do is you have to exercise to keep that muscle, keep the muscle tone in your body. So as we age, we should increase weight training, but workouts include strength, aerobic, balance, and flexibility. And Dr. Mike, what do you have to add?
I'm kind of curious. You're in Chicago area. I'm in northern Minnesota, and you've been going to the gyms probably some kind of a gym since high school and then college and you've just always been a really good gym goer. So, what would you say the percentage is in an average your the average gym that you've been in over the years does cardio versus weights? Is it what kind of ratio have you seen?
Well, it's hard to tell because you get the cardio people that just go to cardio and they're out of there, kind of the traditional, I'm on a diet, I'm doing cardio. But you also get the weightlifters. And gosh, if I could put a percentage on like people that lift weights, I get to see people on a regular basis. How many of those do cardio? I would say about 30 to 40%. I'll see them actually go on the cardio equipment and get the cardio in as well. Sometimes people are doing stuff outside. They might be swimming or they might be going out for a run. What's your assessment? What have you seen?
Yeah, I mean it's it's not as good a balance, you know. I mean, they're either cardio or weights, you know. Some people are heavy on the weights and less on cardio, and more on the cardio, less on the weights. So what do you like? I'm in my 50s. What's a good ratio for me? How much cardio should I do and how much weights? Are you going to get into that?
You know, I'm not going to get into that specific. I want to get into like the muscle and what you should work on in the gym and how important it is. And then, of course, you can go into the balance. I think you have some stuff on balance and that type.
Yeah.
So why don't I just start and get right into? There's some major muscle groups that if you're going to go into, and I'll put this all together at the end. But the largest muscle group in our body is your legs. So you got the glutes, hamstrings, quads, and calves. The second biggest is your chest, your pectoralis muscle. Third biggest is your shoulders. And then you got the back after that, triceps, biceps, and finally end on abs. If you're going to get a good leg workout and muscle workout, I love hack squats because you're basically have more support. I mean, you can do squats. Squats is when you have a barbell on you and you're squatting down with weight. And as we mature in life, maybe you want to be a little more protective of the spine. If you're young and you're in these, college athletics, maybe squats is the right thing to do. But hack squats is when you lean back on the machine and you push the weights upward, and that's probably one of my favorite. Then you can do calves on that too. Just do the calf muscles at the same time after you get your set in. And then, of course, leg extension, leg muscles. And people, if they look up leg extension, leg curls, and hack squat, as well as squats, that's legs. Chest, and these are push-ups, these are dumbbells, these are bench press. When you get into shoulders, you can do military press, the upright rows, you got and others. And then the next group is back. That's where your lat pulls, or you can do these dumbbell rows. And then triceps, you can do dips, or you can do these extension downward. Finally, biceps, these are the curls, and you can do barbell or just single-handed. Then, of course, you end with the abs, and you can do your obliques, you can do planks, leg lifts, anything to get the abs. So how do you put these together? I find the best lifting schedule is Monday and Thursdays. You do your chest, shoulders, and triceps. And the reason you do your chest, shoulders, and triceps together, because if you're doing the bench press, for example, and you're getting your chest, well, indirectly, you are also getting your shoulders and your triceps. So we want to keep all these muscles so we break them down evenly. Tuesdays and Fridays, you're doing your back and your biceps. So it's basically the same thing. If I'm doing pull downs, indirectly, I'm also getting my biceps. And then Wednesdays and Saturdays is a good workout to do legs, hack squat, leg extension, leg curls. So it's really important that when you're doing these workouts, like for example, if you do chest, do 3 or 4 exercises of the chest. Next time on, let's say that's on Monday, Thursday, switch it, do something completely different. Make yourself a light, medium, and heavy. So I would stick to 3. Sometimes people just want to do 2 for each muscle group. And then usually when you lift them consecutively, that's called a rep. So you'll do usually 4 sets, like 8 to 12 reps. And that's enough to really get a burn in the muscle. The next thing is the body parts. Let's say you want to do a workout where you don't have time to go in there just about every day, even if it's only for 15, 20 minutes. And you need to maybe put aside maybe a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week to work out. And this is where I say take your largest muscle groups, work them first, your legs, And you might have one exercise that you do for legs. It might be a lunge, it might be a squat. And then you do a chest workout. It might be a bench press, it might be push-ups. Then you do your back. It might be lat pulls or upright rows. Shoulders, military press, or lateral raises. And the next exercise is your biceps, and you might do just one dip, a set of dips, and then finally you got your stomach, and you might do obliques or just kind of crunches for doing that. How do you, no matter if you're doing aerobic type, like an elliptical, or you're swimming, or you're out for a brief walk, or maybe even jogging, there's a concept called burst or surge training. And you can include this in your workout, whether it's aerobic or lifting weights. And what burst or surge training, I think most people have heard of, I think the Orange Theory does that type of thing where you rotate from one station to another and you really get your intensity up to a high level. And then you take a brief rest and then you get that intensity level up. It's a quick workout. It makes you very tired, but it's a way to really hone in and increase your growth hormones and testosterone at a higher level. It also causes fat to be burned at a much quicker rate, and it extends for another 36 hours afterwards. And then muscle building, and it's not muscle wasting. I've actually applied this to an aerobic. You can do it with weightlifting, yes. But I went out for a run, and you're better off doing a burst training instead of like doing a half-hour run. If you cut it in half to 15 minutes and do surge training where you're running to up to 70, 80% of your capacity for a minute or less, and then you walk, catch your breath, do it again, you can cut that half-hour workout to 15 minutes and get more out of your workout. So here's just a systematic review in 2019. They did resistant training, just muscle or band training, and they found that it lowered the all-cause of mortality by 21%. And if you added cardio to that, your all-cause mortality lowered by 40%. That's pretty significant.
It is. That's huge.
So the conclusion is the greatest benefit is the appropriate amount. Dr. Mike was talking about if you do too much, that actually can shorten your lifespan if you're too intense, but they say kind of a moderate amount. And you add strength training, cardio, and what this study did not share with us is balance and some of these other, these other techniques for physical fitness and training. So the intensity and effects of strength training with the elderly. Some people think, gosh, I'm too old. I'm not going to be able to build any muscle. And the fact is that people over 60 years of age were able to increase their muscle strength, mass, and firing rate by up to 60 to 85%. So indeed, people in their elderly years, 60 or above, are able to continue to build those muscles. Then we talk about cardio. I mean, jogging and jump rope. These are phenomenal exercise. Swimming, elliptical. These are my 4 favorite cardio. And of course, people who are competitive in like football and basketball, soccer, good. And then other things like inline skating, rollerblading, cross-country skiing. Those are all good cardio. I don't know, I just stick with this all the time. Consistency is more important than intensity. So we talked about this our last episode on goal setting. People get to the gym and their mind doesn't, if they do too much too fast, they just burn themselves out. Their mind is not into it. Their body becomes sore and they don't want to go to the gym. And my thought is just do consistency. That's more important than intensity, because there's times where I go to the gym, don't feel like going. And then once I get there, my mindset is I'll go there anyway and I'll go through the motions. I'll just go light. And I get there and I go, wow, I got a great workout. I did more than I thought I would. But then there's other days where I feel like going to the gym, and I get to the gym and I go, gosh, I just don't feel like working out. Instead of leaving, I'll just do a light load and just do my workout, and just consistency more important than intensity. So I'm going to pass it on to you, Dr. Mike. And what do you got?
That was very, very good, Dr. Gordon. I like the concept of chest, shoulders, tries twice a week. So you get 2 days in between to recover. And I like the concept of varying exercises, not just do bench press twice a week and that's it. And if you want to do a bench press type thing, maybe you could do push-ups or you could get free weights. You could use a machine. I thought it was just, yeah, it makes sense to me to do that. And
Did,
each body
did
part
you
twice a week.
did you see there Mercola? I don't know if the viewers are familiar with Mercola, but he usually comes out with some really phenomenal health information. And this past week, he came out with lifting weights. If people are going such high intensity and they're doing it for over, what, 130 minutes over a week, that can shorten their lifespan, the study had said. And so I guess what I'm emphasizing is I think workout is phenomenal, doing it. Make sure you get the nutrients so that when you do work out, that your body's getting replenished with the proper nutrients so you can actually build and not burn yourself out. But I thought that was stunning, that article. Did you read that? Did you read that? And what did you
I
think
didn't
of it?
see that one. No.
Uh,
So, Dr. Gordon, one of my favorite things to do is the scientific 7-minute workout. It's the high intensity, like you talked about. It's a free app on Apple Store, or you can just go online and search 7-minute scientific workout. And so it starts out by doing as many jumping jacks as you can do in 30 seconds. You get your heart rate up and then you rest 10 seconds. And then you do a wall sit for 30 seconds. Then you get a 10-second rest. Then you go to the floor and do as many pushes as you can in 30 seconds. If you only do 4, well, you did 4. Next time you do it, you can see if you can do more. But what if you do 20 or 30? It's like you aren't going to get that sore because it's only 30 seconds. Then you rest and catch your breath, and then you get up and do squats or lunges. And I really, really like that for a 7-minute workout because it doesn't take that long, and you work upper and lower body. You have to recover that much because it's not that intense. So maybe you do that
I
once a week.
I have a question, Dr. Mike. When you did that exercise, how did you feel after you did it with that
Well,
much intensity?
I felt really, really good. You're a little bit out of breath and you're tired, but I recovered so fast. I just felt like, wow, I've felt really, really good
I
mentally and physically.
remember I remember this workout very similar to that. And it was called the Nebraska system. And I don't know why, maybe it was a football program at the time. And what they basically did was the same thing you just described, except they put the muscle groups into the squats and then your shoulders, your chest, shoulders, et cetera, et cetera. And you would have the workout and you'd get it done in 15 minutes, very similar to what you're describing, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But you do it till you fail. You lift, you bench until you fail. And then you have a small little window to rest, like a half minute. And then you do, and I remember doing these and they were so intense. You can't do it for long periods of time. You could maybe do it for a month if you're lucky. But I tell you, when I was doing it, I was in the best shape. So I hear you. That sounds like a great exercise in
Well,
moderation.
yeah,
In
for
moderation.
sure. And I remember P90X, and people were so excited about that, but then the 90 minutes got to them after a while. So then they
Yeah.
shortened that down to like 20 and 30 minutes. One other thing that I do that I'd like to share is when I'm on my Schwinn, old school Schwinn Aerodyne, I don't have a Peloton or a Carol bike that I want to get sometime.
Old school.
It is. I put on some resistant bands
Oh,
on my arms and my legs. And so I can still do intensity every, 3 minutes as fast as I can, but that works my muscles harder by restricting blood flow.
that's
And so I
brilliant.
can do a 20-minute workout interval, high intensity, but also I get more workout that way. And so that's one of the ways I can do it since I'm not as intense with my workouts as much, but I can still feel like I got a good muscle and cardio workout with the resistant bands on. Um,
Brilliant. Love that ideal.
yeah, so resistance bands. Dr. Gordon, I like the concept of benchmarks with people. A benchmark is something you and I could do today, and then all of a sudden, a year from now, we do it. And if we can do the same thing, we're a year older, but I guess we aren't aging that fast because we can still do it. Do you have anything like that? Like in the gym, you can hack squat 300 pounds. Well, geez, you've done that the last 10 years. You aren't aging that fast because your strength is maintaining 300 pounds of a hack squat or a 200-pound bench. Do you have any of those benchmarks that you kind of look for every year
Well,
that you
Dr.
can do?
Mike, I think as I mature in life, I kind of look at lifting and training a little bit differently.
Okay,
And like you had just said, being a little creative with your workouts. You don't, if you're doing shoulders, you can't do that same workout all the time.
sure.
And I guess if I had any benchmark, that's a great question. If I had any benchmark, I know what I put on the weights, and I usually stick with about that same. But since I'm always varying it from light, medium to heavy, I'm not doing that same thing every day. But I would say last year, I probably put the same amount of weights on. And, I guess when college football and doing the triathlons, there was more benchmarks.
Okay.
Are you doing the benchmark, and how do you do them?
Well, here's some benchmarks that I really like for because of longevity as well. So grip strength benchmark is if you grab the squat rack or a pull-up bar, okay, if you're going to do a pull-up or chin-up, if you can hold on to that for 60 seconds, you don't have to do pull-ups or chin-ups. If you can just hold on with your feet off the ground for 60 seconds, it's a really, really good benchmark for longevity. And it means you have really strong grip strength. I don't have one of those grip strength machines in my office to test people, but grip strength is a really, really, really good benchmark for longevity. So I
They,
haven't,
they, I'm sorry for interrupting, Dr. Mike. They actually have those in the fairs, in the summer fairs in Chicago, and they might have them up where you're at as well. The only problem with those people is they put like this rotation round on it. So if you're holding it, it's not like a solid, and nobody can get over a minute. If you get over a minute, you actually win. But I like that ideal. If you're on a solid surface like that and hanging, I love that ideal. But I also think that you get a nice stretch in the shoulders, and your spine can kind of get a little stretch as well,
yeah,
a
yeah,
little
decompress out
traction.
of the spine. So I like that. Another benchmark for longevity is our core. So the benchmark is a 1 minute plank. And so don't feel bad if people listening can't do a 1 minute forearm plank. Just practice. And if you can do a 1 minute plank, you might not have six pack abs, but that's a really, really good benchmark for strong abs and longevity. Another exercise, kind of, if you talked about cardio and swimming and biking, is to hold our breath for 1 minute. Okay, if we
Wow.
can hold our breath for 1 minute, some people can do it 2 or 3 minutes, but holding your breath is a benchmark for longevity as well. And then balance. I really, really like balance because I live in northern Minnesota. It's icy out, right? We're getting rain now instead of snow today, actually. And so I slide around here once in a while. If you can stand on one leg and you can bring the other foot up to the opposite knee and stand like a flamingo for 60 seconds with your eye focused on a spot on the wall, that's a benchmark for really, really good balance. You see people in the gym with wobble boards and all this and that, but try today to stand on one leg with the other foot up by the knee and see if you can do it without wobbling for 60 seconds on both
Wow.
legs. That's the simple benchmark. The advanced benchmark for good balance is eyes closed 60 seconds on one leg. That's obviously more challenging, and you might need to be next to a counter or a wall in case you wobble and you can touch the wall. So that's genius if you can do eyes closed 60 seconds both legs. And then also if you want to advance stuff, balance on one leg and try to juggle. Balance one leg and
Wow.
brush your teeth because you're moving a little bit. Balance on, one leg. Go to the gym and stand on a wobble board and do some arm curls and some shoulder lifts and things like that. So, balance is really, really critical. It doesn't get a lot of credit. We didn't talk a lot about stretching either and flexibility. And maybe we can talk about that since we're running out of time a little bit here. I think we could definitely dedicate about yoga and flexibility and things like that. So I think we maybe just instead of rush, we can talk and really
Yeah.
both share our favorite flexibility programs that we do ourselves or we share with
Yeah.
clients.
I want
Um,
to add
yep.
something. Finish your point, Mike, and then I'll just add something about balance.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so make it fun with balance instead of just standing on like I said, juggle, or you can do eyes open, eyes closed, brush your teeth and comb your hair if you have some, and do some of those things. But also just stand. You can have a hardwood floor line. You could just put your feet on there and or do a lunge and just work on balance things. And you could sit on one of those Swiss exercise balls and do curls and do exercises. I've seen videos, I haven't seen it in a gym, where people stand on those big Swiss balls and still do stuff.
Yes.
That's some crazy good balance. Go ahead, Dr. Gordon.
No, I mean, it's really, I love this balance because, as we mature in life, you see the elderly kind of like, they're kind of shuffling. They don't quite know where their feet is. And one thing that's really important with balance is it helps with proprioception. Proprioception is if I close my eyes, I know that my finger's coming to my nose because my brain is telling me where it is in space. Same thing with your feet and everything else in your body. You get feedback mechanisms that say where it is in space. And if you work on your balance, it's a way, as we mature in life, we lose balance, we lose muscle strength, we lose flexibility, and it's important to maintain these proprioception. People, I've seen this. People who have done yoga and they're well into their 90s, they're teaching it or just doing it, these people have incredible proprioception. They know where their limbs are in space and they walk without any hesitation. And it's really quite fascinating to see. And then Pilates. Pilates is a exercise that I think doesn't get enough attention. And one thing that I love about Pilates is that there's a little bit of balance. There's a little bit of isometric training for your muscles, proprioception. It kind of adds a little of everything. Flexibility. It has the whole package. And I don't do Pilates at this moment, but I have done it before, and I'd say that's a phenomenal type of exercise protocol.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. I took a class on Tai Chi, which is 19 movement exercises. That's a subset of Tai Chi, which is 120 movements. I love Tai Chi. We can talk about that at future times too. So just a couple other reminders about balance. Not just standing on one leg with one foot up for 60 seconds. That's kind of mean your balance is okay. When you mentioned squats and lunges, if you do lunges with some weights, that's a balance exercise. If you go on your hands and knees and reach one arm forward and the other leg back, that's called a bird dog, and that's a core strengthener, but it's also a balance exercise. So you can incorporate a lot of different functional weightlifting and functional movements with balance to also kill two birds with one stone, so to speak, and multitask with that. So that's how you can make it fun and easy and light, medium, and heavy workouts. So that's those are some other things to keep in mind. And so I guess with only a few minutes left, I'll have a couple closing thoughts, Dr. Gordon, and then you can close on your
Okay, sounds
review.
good.
I like to ask the question, what one takeaway from what we talked about, whether you heard something one of us said or it jogged your memory, or you go, oh, I was going to start exercising this week. And what one takeaway from what we talked about would you share with your spouse or friend or coworker or neighbor that just spurred you to take an action? And what action step could you start today? Could you, look up online at gyms in your neighborhood? Could you go back to the gym if you have a membership? Could you just commit to one day a week? Could you, commit to one extra day a week if you're going one day a week? And what one action step would you take today? And then my one last thing that I really like to share is something called the nitric oxide dump by Dr. Zach Bush. So I would go to YouTube and type in nitric oxide dump. It's a 3-minute exercise. It's 4 exercises. You do 10 sets each. Okay, so that's 40, but then you do them 4 times. So 160 movements in 3 minutes. that is significant with circulation. It's a good cardio workout in just 3 minutes, helps cardiovascular issues. Nitric oxide is a chemical that's stored in our arteries, so it gets activated in these 3 minutes of intense exercise. But you can do it anywhere. You don't, it's not long enough to get really sore or really sweaty, and you can do it at any age because it's based on your own intensity. So I challenge our listeners to go to YouTube to look up nitric oxide dump. If you've never heard of it, never done it, check it out. It's very impactful for three
Wow.
minutes a day. All right, Gordy, what do you have?
I'll have to check that out. One of the things that I'm seeing in a trend as far as like on Instagram, I see these people that are well above 60, but they're in phenomenal shape. And what they're doing is plyometrics. Plyometrics are a combination of all the above. Maybe it's in the same realm of, getting a stretch, a weightlifting and stretching at the same time, much like Pilates. But they're doing plyometrics, and you said do a search engine or go to YouTube. I would encourage people go to YouTube, look up different exercises in plyometrics, and that might be something you can do at home as well. But also check out the major muscle groups and see how many different exercises. Go to YouTube, put in leg exercise muscle workouts for the legs, for your chest, for your shoulders, for your back, for your triceps, biceps, and then for the abs. And you might be stimulated and find other people that have incredible content out there that might motivate you and get you to the next level. This is a phenomenal subject. I really love this. I hope people are encouraged and just get out there and go for it. Makes a big
Thank
difference.
it. It does, and it can extend your life expectancy